Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today I'm going to show you how I did a couple of these sketches in my sketchbook and also talk about why I like to divide up my paper into these little boxes in order to do my sketchbook practice. I think working in a sketchbook is awesome. I think it's a great place to experiment. And when you break up a big page like this into smaller little cells, it gives you many more times to practice. And often I find that these little sketches, the whole layout when you have many sketches together is often greater than the sum of all the little sketches together. Kind of like one tree is beautiful, but then when you're immersed in the forest, it's just overwhelming and life-changing. Well, maybe that's a bit of a stretch, but still, I hope that hope this inspires you to give this a try. So the sketches that I'm going to do today are from a couple art challenges that I enjoy on Instagram. The first one is the food paint challenge. And also I want to try out these paints here. It's the new 52 color set from Mi Liang, also known as Pretty Excellent, which is the student grade version of Paul Rubens. And they came out with this 52 set. And I got to tell you, this set's a little unusual looking compared to how it comes. It comes in one of those plastic ice cube trays. But then when I looked at the paint, you know what? They were in little metal pans. And I thought, well, I got to take this apart. Also, I didn't like the arrangement that they came in. So I wanted to kind of move them around. So I went through the arduous task of pulling them all out of their little plastic prisons and adding magnets to the bottom and adding little swatches on the side. It was a little bit extra, but I found that it just made the paint a lot more usable for me. As you know, I recommend, well, you might not know, maybe this is the first time you've ever heard of me. But if you've followed my channel for a while, you know that I recommend the Pretty Excellent or Mi Liang set of 36 watercolors as my budget watercolor pick. I think it is just as good, if not better, than every student grade out there from the legacy brands. And I don't think it will hinder your ability to learn if you're starting off with those. Very inexpensive and high quality. And yeah, it's not going to come in between you and learning watercolor properly, where a lot of student grade colors are kind of chalky. This set, though, has a lot of pastels in it and a lot of mixed pigments, and I find that it's really easy to get muddy, and you can kind of see that this illustration is getting kind of muddy here. I will have a full review of these paints at a later date on my YouTube channel. If you want to see that. It's not going to be for a couple months though, because I am really scheduled out as far as reviews go. But I did want to get these paints used and out there a bit, just because I know a lot of people were kind of on the fence and waiting on buying the set until before they got a review or an opinion on them. I'm going to say I'm still going to recommend the 36 set. Honestly, I think the colors in that set are more useful. But if you already have the 36 set, there's only 16 colors that are duplicated. So if you want to expand the color palette, you have the 36 set already, and you want more colors, then you'd probably really enjoy this. I enjoyed it more taking the paints apart, but mainly because I could just pull out the colors that I want. I probably should have used stronger magnets because they are still slip sliding around a lot here, but I might just in the future take out the colors I want, pop them into a smaller half pan tray. They are a little bit smaller than standard half pans. It may be because they're in these almost like eyeshadow type pans. They are thicker than eyeshadow, but they're just slightly smaller than a standard half pan. But anyway, yeah, I mean, if you love the Mi Liang paints, you want more colors, go for it. I still would say the 36 set is the best bet, but yeah, the paint's the same quality. It's just you got a lot more mixed pigment and convenience colors here. You've got the basic colors, but yeah, definitely a lot of convenience colors there. So what I did after that first wash, where I had used some of the pastel tones, I had used kind of like, I wanted to get kind of like a frosty look on the plums, or figs, I'm sorry, I think they're figs. Then I went in with some darker colors, kind of dry brushed it to give it that waxy coating. And actually, you know what? I think it looks all right like this. But I will end up adding a little bit of colored pencil to it because I wasn't quite happy with how it was looking. And I figured this is just a small sketch. I didn't mind adding some mixed media to it. And there's nothing like adding colored pencil to give fruit that waxy texture, because it's wax, right? It's wax and pigment. It just works really well for that. The texture on this Arches paper is very aggressive, so it did kind of get in the way of me getting the texture that I wanted on the sketch. But like I mentioned before in the video, the great thing about dividing up your page into a bunch of little cells is that you get many different times to experiment and practice. And what I was looking to do today was just kind of have a fun little play session. I had been very busy the last few weeks finishing up a class that I was launching, and this week I'm kind of taking it kind of easy and just having fun and playing around. And that's what I was doing here in my sketchbook. And it was a lot of fun. I did enjoy that quite a bit. I also totally enjoyed deconstructing that palette and turning it into a more modular type of palette. So if you love puttery little projects like that, you might love those paints just for that reason. Now the tin these paints come in is more like the semi art tins and the like Artistro tins, that kind of clamshell type of tin the lid doesn't overlap. It's thick, but it's the same like footprint as the 36 size. It's just like twice as thick, just to kind of give you an idea of how large it is. The bottom of the palette is completely flat, which is great for this magnet situation that I had going on with my pans. I wish the metal that they poured the pans in was magnetic, but it appears to be like an aluminum, which makes sense because it would probably rust if it was magnetic. But I know there's some makeup palettes that are like little metal pans and they're magnetic. So I don't know what metal they're using. Maybe stainless steel. I have no idea. But anyway, I thought it was very interesting when I started to peek around under the plastic and see that they were in little metal pans. It doesn't take much to amuse me, apparently. So this reference photo here is from the Shiny Paint Challenge on Instagram. And it's funny because this reference photo, I believe, is from Unsplash. I think I've seen it like a few times because I have, maybe it's not this one, but a very similar one. I have it in my one of my collections of as a kind of interesting thing that it might be fun to paint someday. And then I thought, well, this is right here for this paint challenge. I'm going to do it just because I like it and I think it would be fun to. I always love to jump in on these little paint challenges. As you know, I have a paint challenge called the Sketchbook Floozy Challenge, which is basically a challenge to get you to use your sketchbooks. So yeah, get those sketchbooks out, use them, divide up the pages if you want, or not. It's totally up to you. I think we make our books a little too precious. And that's another thing. If you have a really nice sketchbook, like this one is handmade with Arches watercolor paper. It's very bougie. And breaking it up a little bit like this makes you a little bit less precious about it, right? Because you have more chances. You can get more bang for your buck, basically. I did the background with a mix of phthalo blue and some ultramarine blue. Then I let it dry. Then I wet over the microphone itself where I'd painted some of that color into the shadows, and it helped blur the color around and give you some of the almost ambient reflections on the shiny metal microphone. I'm adding in some other colors that I see. Looks like there might be some colored lights around it, and I kind of amplify that a bit because I do love to boost color. I'm a big color fan, and wipe out some of the highlights with a clean damp brush and paper towel. And this was fun. I love to paint glass and metal, and I found this actually came together so quickly. And then I'm going back in, adding some shadows back in. It's still wet though, so anything I add back in at this point will get very crisp. Will get very blurry. I'm sorry. It's early when I'm doing this voiceover. So basically it's just a very kind of holistic, intuitive way of painting wet into wet, then letting it all dry, and then painting wet into dry, which is what we're going to do right here. I've been using the 10 brush paint set from Artagria a lot lately. I used it in my 30 Days to Better watercolor class. I'll link that down below in case you want to check that out. It's on launch special for 50% off this month. And I've been using them a lot because I wanted to really put them through their paces before I use them for my class. And I used them for all the lessons in my class. They're very affordable. I just wanted to make sure there was something really affordable for people that may be just starting out. And yeah, they're a great buy. Obviously, if you already have watercolor brushes, they work just fine. But I was looking for an inexpensive set that I could recommend since my set sold out, and I don't have plans to relaunch that set. But yeah, it's worked really well, and I found the sizes to be very good, very usable and convenient, and yeah, just kind of a workhorse set there. I will link that up below too if you want. This paint pen is great. It's from Mr. Pen, and it's a little bit thicker than a gel pen, but it's great for going in and throwing in those chunkier highlights. It's also really good if you are like blocking off your sketchbook and maybe you get some paint outside of a cell. You can clean it up that way. I've used it on my watercolor greeting cards where if I've taped it down and the water and paint has gotten under the tape, I've used it to clean up an edge. It just works really well. And then I went in with a gel pen for the more slim highlights there. And here you can see the finished paintings. I'm so happy with the way they came out, and I hope that you enjoyed this as well. Thank you so much for watching this. I hope it inspires you to kind of break up your sketchbook pages. And until next time, happy crafting. Bye.